going to move into the family, but before I start into the family, I just want all of the Whitt family, grandkids, and everybody just please stand at this time. I talked to Chief Whitt quite a bit. We seem to always be worrying about something happening in the police department of the city, or I think we call it the neighborhood crunching crime or something. But in discussing with him about his home life, trying to come up with some ideas tonight about we'll come up with the idea of what a meal meant around the Whitt house. Seems to be a meal around the Whitt house, you never knew who's going to be there. Come home to eat it might be a Democrat, it might be a Republican, it could be a Cub Scout, or anybody else that come along. And I said, well, did we talk about Democrat or Republican or what? And he said, well, Mama used to talk about Republican, and there's no telling what Daddy was going to talk about. So tonight I want to give the opportunity to the family to speak and talk about Mama, and maybe some of those table discussions you might never tell. Mary's firstborn is Judy, who is married to Dale Offers, and they now live in Clear Lake City, Texas, and has 3 children. Judy?
Jack and I had both been out of town. Jack's been in Scotland and got back at 3 this afternoon. And we remember mealtimes in particular. To our horror, or my horror, we went to I guess it was a tribute to President Bush or Senator Graham a couple of years ago. And it was in the Astro Arena. And it was a lovely evening. Charlton Heston spoke and Randy Travis sang, I think. And anyway, Jack and Jeff and James and my husband Dale and I all went. And there were photographers and people from all over. And the expensive tables were at the front. And there happened, we had paid for our table, but it wasn't one of the,
it wasn't one of the lush tables up in the front. You paid big bucks for those tables.
The president of First City, when it was still in existence, Houston, name happens to be, or was, Jack Whitt. And Jack saw Jack Whitt. He said, oh, we'll just sit here.
She's going to lay it off on me, but I think the guilty party was it you, Mother?
Well, I did say that I was the only Whitt on the program.
She was. And what was really funny was to see how we fishtailed out of there.
I wanted to die. He sat down and started. Jack said, do you want some wine, Judy? I said, no, Jack, we shouldn't be here. I said, well, I think I'll have a little. And the waiter came around and he asked if we would like anything. Jack said, what the heck? He thought he might like a little. And all of a sudden we look up and here is Jack Whitt of First City, Texas. He said, hello, I'm Jack Whitt. And Jack said, well, hi, I'm Jack Whitt too. And Mother said, we must be kin, so we decided to go ahead and sit down.
But the moral of this story is if you pay $20,000 for a table, you should be on time.
I've known Mary Whitt for 48 years. I know we don't look it. You should have stopped when you were ahead, but you had to go ahead with Jeff and Jack and James. Story continues.
Well, I got to say, Mother, that I'm particularly pleased that you did not stop when you had Jeff. Nice to be here. But as the mayor was alluding to, around our house when I was a youngster, we never knew what to expect, especially during campaign season. Come the fall, on a Saturday morning, we were subject to be anywhere in Northeast Texas, on the back of a fire engine or riding in the back of somebody's car, campaigning for any of these guys. And if you would, raise your hand if you know the person of whom I'll speak in a minute.
Jack Cox, does anybody remember that campaign?
Jack Cox, great politician.
We were one of 3 people there.
You're all going to know this. Connor Harrington. Raise your hand if you know him. Okay, you don't count.
You don't count, Joe.
Paul Eggers. There you go, good. Then there was a guy that ran against a fellow by the name of Benson in the senatorial race, and his name was George Bush. So we know him. But what we really need to remember is that Texas has not always been a two-party state. We ran a campaign back in '68, and I won't take much longer, forgive me. But we were at it was at the store, because Mother was a assistant chairman of the party, and my father has never been one to let anyone sway his thinking. Back then, people would start calling our house on election day early in the morning, and it would go all day at the store. But however, we would hold the voting at the store and the primaries.
Until '68.
And it was George Wallace on the American Party, and Daddy was the American Party chairman. Well, it was a race to the phone that year. Let me tell
We certainly said our prayers before our mealtime. All during that campaign. One more meal.
you. Instead of holding the primary, well, Daddy was trying to get enough signatures on the petition just to get Wallace on the ticket. But where the Republicans had been in the back of the store, they got moved over to the old Colonel Stewart house across the street, out on the porch. And to touch on that one point I mentioned earlier, we haven't always been a two-party state. The Republicans garnered some whopping 7 votes, and those were lean times. I think that's about all I had to say, Judy.
Me too. We love you, and we were really proud to be here tonight. And thank you all.
Thank everyone for showing up.